Welcome everyone. Skirmish season is upon us, so it's time to take out those third copies of each card in your CC deck and quickly try to learn the Blitz format. To save you time, I've got a nice little baby Riptide deck for you to have a go on. As usual, the deck link is in the description, and if you like the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. So a bit of context about the list, it's more of a mid-range approach to Riptide. We want to play above rate efficient hands, which looks like blocking using traps and other 3 blocks, using Riptide to reload, and firing a 0 for 4 with an on-hit. But the deck is very versatile too. You can set up wide turns with 6 cards using buffs and bolt and shots, or you can set up huge 16 power dominate attacks with Murky Waters. So the deck can offer a lot of variety in its game plan, and allow you to be very flexible in your approach to each hero. We'll begin by going through the equipment. So starting off, this is an aim Riptide deck, so we're playing Bard Castaway. We have several cards that benefit from giving aim counters in the deck, but importantly, none of them are bad without the aim counter. Castaway being able to load at instant speed lets you do all sorts of silly tricks and fun plays. Going second is always strong too, because you often get to load an arrow, and so you've basically gone first, but now you have tempo and have been able to filter somewhat as well. New Horizons is our helmet. I think the value this offers is too good to pass up, and it synergizes really nicely with Bard Castaway. If you even once get that double arsenal set up, New Horizons has provided you with at least 5 value, counting 2 from the block, but it will often get you far more, as this deck averages between 5 to 6 turns of play. Sharpshooters is my go-to arm piece. It was a close call between this and Long Draw Half Glove, but I chose Sharpshooters in the end because it lets you play a good smaller hand rather than a good large one. And in tight spots this is very much appreciated. Also lets you get Dominate on demand for Murky Water or Stone Rain if you say draw no buffs or traps to get the arrow face down in your arsenal. It also means that you don't need to rely on drawing a blue with Murky Waters. Bullseye Bracers is sideboard equipment for Wizards. AB2 with Oasis and Sigil has been enough for me to win against Wizards. I haven't actually lost any tournament games when presenting this into either the Emperor or Blaze, but it's not an easy game. You have to really fight tooth and nail for the win in these matchups and squeeze every ounce of value that you can from your cards. Trench of Sunken Treasure is what I've decided on for the chest slot. If you've seen any of my other Riptide videos from this year, you'll know that I'm a big believer in Tunic as a chest piece for Riptide. However, in Blitz, the games are shorter and so you get less value out of that Tunic. I'm also running more traps in this list and the Quiver Abyssal Depths for getting back my Dominate arrows, which in turn gets me more traps. So Trench having AB1 is vital too, and so having this as my only chest piece lets you dedicate more space to other cards in the deck. Perch Grapplers are my boots of choice, mostly for the 2 block, but we're not resource light and our cards don't cost much, so the go again effect does actually come up a fair bit. Sometimes you can go 3 arrows wide with it, so always be on the lookout for ways to use its effect. Flight Path as an option for our legs is also a good choice. I just like that 1 extra life that Perch Grapplers provides, and it also means that I can block out a CNC a lot more easily. As previously mentioned, I am on Quiver of Abyssal Depths. It lets me recycle good arrows for the late game. I usually choose Murky Water and Endless Arrow, and then either Bolt and Shot or Stone Rain. Depends on what is left in my deck, how much life myself and my opponent are on, various factors like that. Onto the main deck now, and I'll start with the arrows. You'll see that there are no 1-cost arrows, and the only attack that costs anything at all is Murky Water. This is because, as mentioned at the start, we want to be abusing Riptide's reload ability when we can, so that we can block out a lot. All our 0-cost arrows have good on hits and present breakpoints, except Blue Bolt and Shot unless it's buffed, which, even without a buff, makes it hard for opponents to block. I'm basically playing all the 0-4s that I think are the best, so that's 2 copies of Blue and Red Bolt and Shot. I'm playing 2 Drill Shot, 2 Endless Arrow, 2 Searing Shot, and 2 copies of the new card Stone Rain, as well as the Blue Intoxicating Shots. So Stone Rain is a new addition to the game and it really elevates the deck to another level. Playing a 0-cost buff, Sharpshooters, and then Stone Rain is a powerful play into any deck. Having access to 2 or more Dominate attacks also makes the deck much more difficult to fatigue. In total, you now have access to 12 Dominate attacks throughout the game, depending on how you've sided. The last arrow that I'll quickly talk about is Murky Waters. This is what makes the deck viable. It's just an absolute powerhouse of a card. Closing out a game with a dominated Murky is really easy to do and means that you can often kill your opponent from as high as 10 life. The deck actually reminds me a little bit of Icelander in that you're giving your opponent disruption on their turn, but through traps instead of spells, and once your opponent gets to about 10 life they can suddenly just die to a nice combo turn. We'll quickly mention that the on-hit effect of Murky is a little bit worse in Blitz due to only being able to play 2 copies of each non-legendary trap, but it doesn't matter too much as the Dominate ability is the primary reason to play the card. I'll quickly mention Codex here too. This is the card that lets you abuse the Dominate on Stone Rain or Murky Water if the hand allows it. There sadly is no replacement for this card. Onto the buffs now, and I'm only playing 4 0-cost 2 buffs. That's Premeditate and Lace with Blood Rot. the best 2 in my opinion. I wanted to limit how many 2 blocks were in the deck, and also mitigate drawing those non-arrow hands, which shouldn't happen if using New Horizons correctly, but still, it's just sometimes unavoidable. If you want to play more 0-cost buffs, I would suggest cutting the Inertia Trap for a playset of Seek and Destroy. For the yellow boss, we have Line It Up and Deadeye. Absolutely phenomenal cards. They can be a buff, a resource card, or a 3-block. They do everything. Deadeye paired with Stone Rain removes 2 cards from opponent's hand and gives us info on their next turn as well. And paired with a Murky Waters removes 1 card and lets us see their hand so we can decide which traps are best to grab. Deadeye paired with basically any arrow that we've given a name counter is basically a must block for the opponent. Line It Up may seem odd at first because any 0-cost buff actually does the same thing, but being able to give 2 aim counters in 1 turn is very relevant in some hands, and so with the floor in this card being so high already, I say it's 100% worth the include. Onto the D-Reacts now, and like I said at the start of the video, I want my turns to be above rate from both a defensive and offensive standpoint, and so what better card to play than Sink Below? Always above rate when blocking, lets you dig into the deck for power cards, and can fix hands as well. Really, really good card. Inertia Trap is our only red trap, as I don't want to play too many traps, and I believe this one is probably the most impactful. The fact that Inertia gets given to your opponent by surprise on their turn means you can really scupper their plans for the following turn. The 2 yellow traps that I'm playing are Boulder and Tar Pit. Both are broken and always at least on rate. Tar Pit can buy you an entire turn in some cases, and Boulder Trap has an effect that impacts the entire rest of the game. I'm also on all 3 legendary traps. Each one has its moment, but even when they don't, a blue block 3 is a very nice thing to have. Down into the sideboard here, and I just realised I forgot to mention Murtmire Grapnel, but it is another 0 for 4 that we play. But back onto the defensive cards, we've got Oasis Respite as the last card. This is honestly the most valuable card for the deck. It shores up the matchups that you might find yourself struggling against, such as Wizards and Victor. It's busted with Bard Castaway, because if you pitch a yellow or a blue, you can convert those floating resources to load, give an aim counter, or both. For the random cards, we have Sigil of Solace. This card is just broken in Blitz and double broken in Riptide. It's a complete high roll if you see it going first, and going second too, you can just play it to reload. The card is necessary for matchups that use Arcane, Dominate, or Intimidate. I'm also on 2 Remembrance, but to be honest, because I'm on Quiver of Abyssal Depths, you only really need 1, so treat the second as a flex spot. If you're expecting a lot of Zen, for example, you could run Balance of Justice, Stonewall Gauntlet, or Immobilizing Shot. If you're expecting Enigma, you could run Vambrace, or if you're expecting Wizard, you could run Nullrune Boots, for example. And there you have it, folks, the blueprints on how to transform yourself from a fisherman to a big green wannabe assassin. The deck has a very good matchup spread into the Blitz meta, but feel free to use this as a shell and then add cards to specifically target certain heroes if you're expecting some of them to be well represented at your skirmish. Note that I am not liable if you fail to win your skirmish, but 100% deserving of most of the credit if you do. Good luck!